Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. Surprise is our theme for the day on the Kevin Jackson Show. And there have been a couple of surprises. Well, first of all, SCOTUS overruled all these knucklehead judges who were keeping President Trump from making America safe again. And they've upheld the travel ban. I don't know what the vote was, but that's a good thing. Now, let me talk to you a little bit about surprise. See, there's the people that do like surprises. See, we just got a surprise. It wasn't very much of a surprise to us because we knew common sense is going to rule the day when you have a 5-4 lead in SCOTUS, and it'll be bigger by the time President Trump is done here. I believe God has willed it this way. But see, the left, they don't like surprises because surprises are gotchas. The reason why, and I don't know how you feel about surprises, I know people who just don't want to get their heart rate up. You know, like the guy in Get Shorty. You remember Momo, who walked up the stairs and they said, surprise, and he has a heart attack? Yeah, they don't like it because it changes their heart rate. They like everything to stay at even keel. Yeah, but we like surprises. We do, because we understand that it's a good thing. It's like getting a present. Hey, Kevin, I got you something. What y'all give me? By the way, what are y'all getting me for Christmas? Not just you two. I'm talking to the audience too. What are y'all getting me for Christmas? And what are y'all getting me for Christmas? We'll tell you where to mail it. But anyway, yeah, so surprises. And the thing about this, when surprises work the other way, they're not good. And the left, they don't get it. Joy Behar, what was she? She was just exuberant over the new information about Michael Flynn. Oh my gosh, he colluded. President Trump told him to call the Russians. Yay! Woo! And then she had to do a mea culpa yesterday. Yeah, Joy had to call and go, I was wrong. I shouldn't have done the breaking news. And then she reads the letter from ABC. We're really sorry. We do a better job. And then Brian, what's his face? I'm really sorry. I'll hold myself to a bigger standard or whatever. None of them hold themselves to a standard. They knew what they wanted. Joy Behar wants the president indicted for anything, even though he's doing a great job. And then the surprise ends up being on her. The surprise is on ABC. The surprise is on the media industrial complex because you know what they did? They put another nail in their coffin. People don't believe them. So congratulations to us. Joy Behar celebrates. Yay, he's guilty. No, he's not. The surprise is on you, Joy. You lose credibility. And you want to know where additional credibility was lost? When CNN broke news last night that the guy who got fired, and we'll talk about him, Peter Zorkic or whatever his name is, this is the very same dude who changed the gross negligence thing on Hillary Clinton's, when Comey was reading the whole thing about well, it doesn't rise to the thing of gross negligence, that tortured review of that. Turns out this is the guy who rewrote it. He's also, along with 3 other FBI agents, sending anti-Trump messages back and forth as he's supposed to be investigating Hillary. Now I'll let you stew on that for just a second. Hey, Joy, you're going to cover that on The View? Surprise! Yet another one. So what does Donald Trump do? He tweets out, you know what? This crooked FBI, we're going to get the FBI, we're going to make them great again. And Eric Holder says, oh, geez, who are you to be talking about the great men and women of the FBI? And we'll talk about this a little bit later, too. But you got Comey over there going, yeah, my guys are great guys. They were amazing people that I worked for. Yeah, they were crooked. They were part of the Democrat shield. They were part of the Democrat mafia is what they were. And so Donald Trump tweets out, these guys are crooked. And you know what happens? It turns out they are. Now, we all knew, it's certainly not a shock, that we find out that the Obama administration Department of Justice, specifically the FBI, we've written extensively on Comey and his cover-up on behalf of the Clintons and everything that they were doing to orchestrate a win. And you listened to Comey give you all this explanation of all the things that he's going to be doing. You know, this is what we went through and blah, blah, blah with the FBI, but we find no reason to do anything to Hillary Clinton. And you knew right then and there the fix was in. Every one of us knew it. You'd have to be a brain dead moron, aka a leftist, to believe otherwise. And so we find out through CNN, who's trying to regain their reputation, and they're saying, you know what, that investigator, it turns out he's not legit. And it turns out there's 3 others in there with him. So now what is Mueller's choices? What does Mueller have to do? Surprise, he can no longer keep his focus on Donald Trump. Now Mueller's got to shift his focus away from all the other things that led to the information that supposedly led to the Donald Trump colluding with the Russians, which, by the way, not a single ounce of evidence to that. He's chasing everything but that story. But now what's he got to do? He's got to now convince this country that the people that worked on this campaign, every single one of those people that he hired that are Hillary Clinton backers, are legit. He's going to spend a long time trying to convince this black man that those people are legit. Because you know what? We found out about one of them with 3 other possibles. And I bet you there's a lot more. But you know what else? Inside of that organization, there are some good people. They want to salvage their reputations. And you know what they're doing? They're going to be talking to Jeff Sessions. And if you think these guys are dumb, you better think again. They already have a lot of information about what's going on. Don't think Donald Trump tweets without knowing stuff. He's got an inkling. Somebody gives him information. They say, be careful, Mr. President, but here's how I would play it. And he says, hey, you know what? That crooked FBI. And the next day, we find out about that crooked FBI. The son of a gun, look at there. Everybody thinking, oh, he's done. Yeah, a Wharton graduate who takes $1 million and makes it into, I don't know, 5-10 billion. He's really stupid. A guy who wins a presidency against all odds. You're now starting to see how he won. Hey, surprise. Leftists, you know what's going to happen to you if you're listening to the program, and you do. You're going to continue to be surprised until we start watching the perp walks of Comey, Obama, Hillary Clinton, Mueller, and a host of other people who have been stealing taxpayer money and defrauding the people of this government, of this nation, I should say. We got a lot to talk about, folks. Racism in the Steinle verdict when we come back. Keep it in.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Beth Cook Moranville, author of Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope.
Hope, that wonderful, wonderful 4-letter word that you may feel completely out of. I wrote this book to give you great hope. It's not too late. If fetal position is an all too familiar place for you, I understand. If the next 60 seconds are too long, this book is for you. Wherever you are right now, whether you're dealing with divorce or death or sickness, take hope. You are going to make it through this pain. Don't roll your eyes. I've walked this road and I know it. The best is yet to come.
Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope from author and speaker Beth Cook Moranville, can be found on Amazon.com or Kindle.com. For more information, visit closerthanyourbreath.com or on Facebook at Closer Than Your Breath.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson, author of Race Pimping, the Multi-Trillion-Dollar Business of Liberalism. It will keep the surprises from happening to you. You'll understand how things work in the world of politics. Let me tell you what's happening right now, people. The left are in a conniption. It's funny, I was looking at clips and they said it was like, the White House is in turmoil. I can only imagine what's going on inside of the White House. And I'm thinking, are you kidding? The White House they are a smooth sailing ship. That's what the White House is. It was a leftist that's saying that the White House is in turmoil. What that leftist was saying is that the left are in turmoil. The left have so many more shoes to drop. They don't know where they're going to come from. You want to talk about the element of surprise. Imagine a meteor shower and you're in the middle of it. The best thing for you to do is stand still because you don't know where that next meteor is going to hit. Political shoes are about to drop. Entertainment shoes are about to drop. Policy shoes. I mean, think about it. We aren't done with the Weinstein Hollywood stuff. We're on hiatus temporarily. We're not done with the Conyers stuff and Al Franken and the host of others. And let me tell you something. There are lots more out there looming. They're afraid. And as far as policy goes, every single thing that comes out from the Obama administration ends up being horrible for them. The Steinle verdict, do you think that helps the cause of the left? I've got a clip. I'll play it in the next segment because it's worth discussing. You know what? Let's just do it now. It's a clip from Don Lemon's show. It's a guy by the name of Curtis Blow who writes for the New York Times. And I want you to hear his explanation of the Steinle verdict, and then we'll go into some of these other issues.
Charles, this case, it was central to the Trump campaign, his presidential campaign. It turns out the jury saw the set of facts very differently with this verdict than most people thought how it would turn out.
Right. So first of all, I just want to say this. It's a tragedy either way for her family and for her. She's gone, obviously, but for her family who's still here and mourning her. But I do believe that the president was using him as a way to project a pathology onto all Mexicans or all immigrants or even all Mexican immigrants who might even be criminal. And I see that happen over and over and over again, but only happen among people of color. Mm-hmm. It happened with him and Mexican. It happened with black people and Willie Horton. It happens with Muslim people and every Muslim who commits an act of violence or terror. It never happens with white people. That guy can shoot how many ever hundreds of people he shot in Vegas, and we will never say that this is proof of white pathology. We will never say that, but we will hone in on this guy, right or wrong, whatever he did, and project onto the rest of the immigrant population that this is the reason that we have to do something about the rest of them. Him, he epitomizes their pathology. That, at its core, is what racism looks like when you don't use the slur, but you project onto the population.
Welcome back, everybody. So I'm watching that clip, and Ed Martin's a friend of mine, works for the Eagle Forum, and he's sitting there with Charles Blow, and he's just letting Charles speak, and that's fine. I didn't watch the whole clip. But what's funny to me is Charles Blow says that Donald Trump is using this Mexican dude, Zareta, in order to project a pathology onto all Mexicans. And then he goes on to contend that it only happens to people of color. And apparently the Willie Horton ad that was run years ago, which most people probably don't even know the reference, is a projection of onto black people. Any acts of terror are projections on the Muslim people. And what's funny there is he didn't just single out any single act of terror. That's what's funny about that. nor with blacks did he single out anything that blacks do. He singled out the Willie Horton. He was released from prison, and then he upon release from it by a Democrat, he went out and killed other people. So ergo, that was a projection on to blacks, of all blacks. But he says it doesn't happen with whites. If Bundy goes out and serial kills, nobody says that, most white people are serial killers. I know I've never heard that, right? Or most, drive big gun violent things are done by white people. I've never heard anything like that, right? He's telling you, you don't hear that stuff, which of course you do. But I love what he says, that this guy, we have to take this Zareta guy and we have to make him epitomize the issue, epitomize whatever the problem is. Well, here's the problem, Curtis. There are 11 million people that have illegally come into this country, or more, probably more than that are illegally in the United States. And a fairly good-sized percentage of them are committing crimes. And this guy did. And who do they commit crimes against? Are they just committing crimes within their own community, the illegal community, or are they committing crimes against citizens? And so this idea that Donald Trump is projecting something, Donald Trump is addressing an issue that should have been addressed years ago. Everybody knows this. Let me put it to you this way. If Barack Obama were president right now, I called him Curtis Blow. Curtis Blow was one of the first rappers. Anyway, Charles Blow would have nothing to say. Well, and for the record, what would Obama say if Kate Steinle were killed by an illegal who got a gun and decided he was going to fire it at a SEAL? That's what they were talking about. Why would you do that? If I'm a black man in America, I find a handgun, I pick it up, I fire it at a SEAL, and I kill anybody, I guarantee you I'm going to prison. There's not a jury that's going to, in San Francisco, that's going to go, well, I mean, come on. You know why they did it? They did it because they did not want the narrative of we aren't protecting you if you come to our city. Now, I want you to, what if this illegal had decided to drag Kate Steinle behind a building and rape her? My suspicion is that San Francisco would probably be, it's really a shame she happened to be by the building. Man's got his needs. These people are crazy. And Curtis Blow wants you to believe, he wants you to believe that Donald Trump is a racist, that America is racist, that all we do, we project. Let me tell you what the projecting that's happening right now. The projecting that's occurring in America is the left, particularly the black left, but even the white enablers who are projecting on the whites and pushing this idea that you are racist, that you are bad people for whatever reason, and you are not even the majority people in the world. I don't even think at this point white people are the majority people in the United States. The question we should be asking Curtis Blow is, when does it end? Curtis Blow, Charles Blow. These are the breaks. Break it down. For those of you who know the Curtis Blow, you'll like that reference. Anyway, these people are crazy. I don't know what else to tell you. We got to take a short break. Back in a bit.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. It's the Kevin Jackson Show. Were you surprised about the Steinle verdict? Because our theme today is surprise. And I will tell you, I was surprised. I bet most of you were surprised. The idea that a man, forget his status, could pick up a gun, fire it, and essentially be exonerated is pretty surprising. Even in the land of fruits, nuts, and fairies, I'm shocked that they didn't say, let's put this guy away. Now, we understand the politics of it. They got to fit the narrative. No, he wasn't bad. Look, I mean, come on. So what? He was deported, 5 to 7 times? He's not a bad guy. We can't go convicting him because that would actually lead people to believe that the conservatives are correct, that Donald Trump is right in needing to build a wall. But here's a bigger surprise. The New York Times writer, Charles Blow, says that the verdict was racist. The outrage over the fact that people are saying he should never have been he should have been convicted. That's racist. See, that was Donald Trump projecting racism into a situation and making Zareta the scapegoat for all Mexicans. Now, I want you to consider that. A dude gets free, an illegal Mexican who's been deported multiple times, not a solid citizen, picks up a gun in the park that he finds, and instead of turning it in a sanctuary state where he's not going to get in trouble, he decides to fire it, kills a beautiful young mom walking with her father, and the left want you to take racism into that. That's racist. How could you dare look at that any other way? That's how crazy they are. Here's another surprise for you. Perhaps the bigger surprise. The verdict is actually going to help the cause of freedom. It's going to help Donald Trump. See, the left, what they don't understand is logic has a way of rearranging it. It's going to arrange itself. Electrons arrange themselves in a particular way. That's why hydrogen stays hydrogen and oxygen stays oxygen. And the combination of 2 parts hydrogen to 1 part oxygen means you're going to have water. Because there's order in the universe. There's order in the system of things. I know the left want to they call it introducing chaos, or in technical terms, we call it doping. You want to dope the element, but you're not going to. It's going to organize itself back to be H2O. Give me 2 hydrogen molecules and an oxygen molecule, and they're going to make H2O. They're going to give me some water. The element of surprise. And the left think that we're going to get it. They think that we're the ones who are going to be, oh, you wait till you get Donald Trump. You wait. The element of surprise, folks, is that we won, and our guy's doing exactly what we said he would, and they're shocked. Yeah. See, the left believe what they believe. And other leftists believe what they're told to believe. So Hillary Clinton was supposed to be president. Surprise, she's not. Why is she not? Because the element of surprise. They underestimated Donald Trump, which means they underestimated us. And every time they attack this man, they continue to underestimate us. We picked a warrior for a reason. And interestingly, it doesn't matter how good Donald Trump does, they don't care because they're upset that we were right. Hillary's not president. She's never going to be. And Donald Trump is performing like a rock star. And these guys are mad about it because they're shocked at how good he is. They're shocked that everything they've invested in, all the lies, all the fakeness of who they are. We covered frauds a while back. But the fraudulent nature of leftism, they are shocked. Their bedrock is shaking. They don't know what to do. So the only thing they can do is stay dogmatically fixated on Donald Trump. I swear to you, if you take Joy Behar, take any Whoopi Goldberg, take all these leftists, these hardcore, and you'll find out every single one of them is just embarrassed. At their core, when you talk to them, let me give you a little hint. When you talk to them, just say this. Say, look, I know you're embarrassed. I get it. And watch them. They'll have a conniption. I'm not embarrassed. He's crying. And you go, look, I get it. If I had voted for Hillary Clinton and then I watched the results of Donald Trump, I'd be mad at myself. I'm just saying, because it's going to make them so upset. And that's what bothers. Look, if Trump couldn't move the stock market up that high, they would be gleeful. In fact, I'll put it to you this way. If Donald Trump were a failure, the left would say nothing. They wouldn't worry about impeaching him. Well, they probably would. They would see that it could happen quicker, because if the stock market went down to 17,000 and unemployment shot up to 8% and all these corporations said, screw Donald Trump, we're going to move offshore and on, then they would be like, oh, see, we told you, we got to get rid of him. And then, of course, let me tell you what would happen on the conservative side. We'd be ready to dump him. Yeah, we would. But let me tell you why. It wouldn't be because we're turncoats and we're bad. We would say to ourselves, wow, this guy can't get it done. We thought he was better than what he was, whatever. It wouldn't be, I wouldn't be standing behind Donald Trump if he couldn't. I'm not saying that the stock market would be my barometer, but let's say he couldn't keep jobs here. He couldn't negotiate trade deals that were positive to the United States. He couldn't go to China and bring back a $250 billion trade package and reduce the tariffs by 10%. He couldn't do that. If he couldn't go to Saudi Arabia and bring back the largest contract ever brought to American companies, $350 billion. If he couldn't keep corporations in America like he's done with Ford and GM, or bring companies to America like he's done with IBM. I'm saying bring back jobs like IBM, 25,000 jobs over 4 years. Apple, bringing manufacturing back to the United States. If he couldn't do any of that stuff, we would have a reason to dump him. But he's done all of that and more. The stuff coming on the horizon is going to blow your freaking mind. I'll get into it in a little bit. But it has to do with what's happening in the economy. And the prognosticators are like, there's no way that Donald Trump can keep 3% going or whatever. So they did, I think the numbers were 3.1. The OMB is forecasted 2.7% growth in the GDP, which, by the way, is rockets. I mean, it's like, celebration compared to what Barack Obama did. So it's 2.7% is what they predicted. Then the report came out. They said it's 3.1%. Then they revised it and said, no, it's 3.3. Second quarter in a row, over 3%, something Barack Obama didn't do in 8 years. And the left say, well, we don't know if he can keep it up. It's so funny to watch these guys. Wow. The U.S. economy, they say, is running at full potential for the first time in a decade. And let me tell you something. We are about to break the engine. They say this was a new milestone for an expansion year in its 9th year. Total economic output in the third quarter was slightly above the maximum sustainable level of output as estimated by the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office. Unbelievable. First time actual GDP has exceeded potential GDP since the fourth quarter of 2007, suggesting the nation's economic resources are being used efficiently. Interestingly, in 2007, it wasn't even that great under Bush. It was being, I'm not going to get into it. It doesn't really matter. But the point is, none of these during the time of Obama, it never even occurred, is the point. A lady by the name of Beth Ann Bovino says, it's the sweet spot. We'd like to be there for some time, but let's see how long it lasts. It's going to last. Donald Trump is saying, I'm setting this economy up to run from this way from 2021 to 2027. And what he's banking on are the tax cuts and the reforms and getting rid of the waste and the fraud, which is what he's doing. And they can't stand it. That's why the left, they hate this guy. They hate that he exposes every element of government, the waste and the fraud in every element, from healthcare to our foreign policy to how government runs. This consumer finance, whatever it's called, CFPB, that was one of the biggest boondoggles of the left that's out there, and he's blowing that up. They can't stand that. You're right. That's what the left hates. And the element of surprise is that nothing's going to change. They have to get used to the new normal, which is we are going to fix this crap. And we're going to fix it good, and we're not going to let bureaucrats run us over like they have in the past.
Kevin Jackson on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Putting an end to identity politics. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. It's the Kevin Jackson Show. KJRadio.com, 844-551-8255 if you do want to contact the show. So we came up, this is a funny thing. I love Jeopardy, and we came up with a Jeopardy question. And then it morphed into something. So here's kind of how we wrote this as a skit, but it says, I'll take U.S. presidential economies for 2000, Alex. And Alex said, the U.S. GDP was revised upwards to 3.3% under President Trump. Bing! And I'd bring in and go, what is things that Obama never heard during his presidency? I love that. So what I want to do is I was thinking, and I know Alex Trebek will never do this, but I would love to come up with conservative Jeopardy where we just, took all these categories of idiocy of the left and we made up these categories and then gave questions and you had to answer them. Wouldn't that be cool to be a writer for Jeopardy and you had a show for conservatives? Oh man, that would be a field day. And if it were done in comedy, it would make it even funnier. But we can't use, you can't use the Jeopardy stuff at all because they protect that brand like crazy. So anyway, I was talking about, fake news, and I was having a conversation with a friend of mine who had gone to lunch with the president. And he sends me a link, and it shows he and his wife, Brett Baer and his wife, the guy that owns American Express and his wife, Chris Ruddy, who owns Newsmax, and his wife, I believe his wife was there, the president, and somebody else. It was about 10 or 12 people. And he showed they were watching. There was a Politico magazine, online magazine was there, and they reported him there. And he goes, "Hey, check it out," because he had told me. He said, "Yeah, Kevin, I was having lunch with the president." And normally people, you're like, "Oh, yeah, sure, whatever." But no, it was true. But he sent me the link saying, "Hey, Politico was spying on us." And he showed me. That's not even what I want to talk about. What I was going to tell you is, so he's having this conversation with me, and we were talking about different things going on. And he said, "Yeah," he goes, "Yeah, I'm going to tell you the part." The conversation was on the record to begin with because he's got Fox News, Brett Baer. And the reason why Baer was there was he was having a beef. He and the President Trump were having a beef, and I don't think Trump's been on his program because he favors Sean Hannity. And so my friend was sort of brokering the peace between those two, is what one of the things that he said. But it was an interesting conversation, and he says, "So, Kevin, I was asking him about this, that, and here's what I'll give you some inside baseball." The first thing he said, not the first thing, but probably the most important thing was he said to him, I'm not going to say my friend's name, but he says to him, this whole investigation of the Russians, this whole Flint thing, it's nothing. He goes, "There's nothing there. I'm giving you 100% assurances this is exactly what came out of Trump's mouth in the sense, not word per word, but in paraphrase, there's nothing there. They can look all they want. Let them do it. This guy is not losing a moment's sleep over this. Not one." The second thing was, and this one was interesting because it reminded me of the story about Justice Clarence Thomas when I was with him. But he said, Tillerson's not leaving. And he says, Donald Trump said to him point blank, "Look, we got our differerences, but it's nothing like they're reporting. And he goes, he's not leaving. Now, it's not that he's not free to leave. He's a grown man. He can do whatever he wants. But he's saying, look, this thing that they're making up, it's not anything like what the media is saying. And I thought to myself, I believe it, because it harkens me back to the Clarence Thomas thing, where they were saying he was going to retire. And I watched Justice Thomas's lips when he says, Kevin, I never said that. Never. He goes, hadn't even thought it. So where'd they come up with this? Somebody just made it up. And that's when he told me that in 1987 or 89, he quit listening to the news. He says he knew it was fake. And I can only guess he knew it was fake because he's an insider. And if you are in a meeting and you know what took place in a meeting, and then the media says something completely different, you go, wow, they just made that up. But we've come to, in the past, we'd come to trust the media as the people that are trying to get it right every time, trying to report what's really happening. That's not the case. I want you to think about that for just a second, that there's a conspiracy out there to make sure that they're forming the narrative for you. They don't want you to make a decision for yourself. Somebody is manipulating things to the point to saying, this is the way I want people to think. How sick is that? That is sad. Look, I get it. I understand I really don't get why somebody would want you to think a particular way, except in a debate where you're having open and honest dialogue. But we don't even have that. We have one-sided discussion. What was it that was posted? We posted something recently, and suddenly I'm getting all this hate mail from black people. And you, Uncle Tom, you piece of crap, whatever. And I was like, what in the world? So I go and look, and it was you know what I posted? I posted the actual truth of an Ebony editor, Ebony magazine, saying that something like white people need to die. That's what I posted. I didn't elaborate. I just said, here's an article of a black chick that is an Ebony editor who's saying white folks need to die. No rationale, no nothing. And people like, yeah, I'm getting mail, back on Facebook or whatever, the messages, you Uncle Tom, y'all, this you, just a tool of the white man. You do this to the white man. And I'm like, really? So posting the truth of what a lady actually said sets you off. That to me is a level of ignorance that makes me want to pop those suckers right in the mouth. You think I'm kidding? And they all want to, Kevin, I'm going to kick your butt. I'm like, man, I wish I had a button for every time you suckers said you want to kick my butt. I could just pop you right into the octagon with me. The word I would do catch and release, because the word would get back real quick. Don't say that. He'll hit that button, boop, the easy button, because it is the easy button. But it bugs me that, you can't even say the truth. So the left, well, and for the record, they pretend, we want all we want is the truth. All we want, no, you don't. All they want is the truth as it fits their narrative. It's like a scientist who says, I have a theory about such and such. Now go make sure my theory is right. That's not the way you approach science. You approach science with an idea, and you say, now, let me validate it or get rid of the idea. You're going to fail at something much more times than you're successful at, many more times than you're successful at it. So, let's go at it that way. But they don't. The left has a predetermined thing in terms of what they want. The predetermination is Hillary Clinton should be president. Because why? She's the smartest woman in the world. Really? Then why did she fail the bar exam in D.C.? It's funny. I was watching this Monica Lewinsky special that they ran on how all this stuff happened. And it's interesting. Hillary Clinton is the most conniving thing. She was going to do anything to make sure Bill Clinton stayed in power. But here's what the irony of it was. Bill Clinton could have stopped this thing at any time, and we would have never known about Monica Lewinsky. And then when the cake sort of hit the fan with Monica Lewinsky, the conniving between him and his wife and all the operatives they had putting all this stuff together, if they had just done if it just come, clean on one or two things, we would never have known. And because of that dress, that was the biggest issue with Monica Lewinsky. if she hadn't saved that dress, she would have been just like all the way the left look at all the other women accusers of being Bill Clinton. Oh, they just hate him. They just were after him. If she hadn't saved that dress, but it was funny when they were showing the show on it or whatever you want to call it. When Bill Clinton was having to give his DNA, the look on that clown's face when he went, they got me. It was priceless. And when I didn't know this, they said Bill Clinton, they said we don't have to record your deposition, your response to this whole inquiry. And he goes, no, let's do it. He thought he was going to be able to sell it. And when he gets out of there, his own attorney said, dude, you're toast. It was funny on so many levels because, we all went through it and I was anti-Clinton in that regard. Not because, at the end of it, he ends up being a pretty good president when you look at, he passed a lot of Newt Gingrich's Contract for America. But I didn't like the fact that he's so duplicitous. He's such a liar. And they talked about how he kept going back to saying, we got to go back to doing the people's business. I don't understand all this stuff. I just want to go back to doing the people's business. And so every person on there, the talking point was, we're going to go back to doing the people's business. Yeah, I think they meant doing business to the people. Anyway, we got to take a short break. We'll be back.
He won't stop until he's the top-rated radio talk show host in America.
What kind of weird competitive freak are you?
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. So we got a lot of things getting ready to happen. A lot of things. Big week. We all know this. We should have covered this one. Well, it's not a big deal because it's not happening yet, but I think it's today, in fact. The gay cake thing is going to the Supreme Court. Upcoming Supreme Court argument about a baker who refused to bake a cake for a same-sex couple makes some civil rights lawyers think of South Carolina's Piggy Park barbecue. When two blacks parked their car at a Piggy Park drive-in in August of 1964 in Columbia, South Carolina, the waitress who came out to serve them turned back once she saw they were black and didn't take their order. In the civil rights case that followed, Piggy Park owner Maurice Bessinger justified the refusal to serve black customers based on his religious belief opposing any integration of the races whatsoever. Now, federal judges had little trouble dismissing this guy's claim, and they said undoubtedly defendant Bessinger has a constitutional right to espouse the religious beliefs of his own choosing. However, he does not have the absolute right to exercise and practice such beliefs in utter disregard of the clear constitutional rights of other citizens. This was U.S. District Judge Earl Simons, Jr., who wrote this in 1966. And by the time the Supreme Court heard the case in 1968, the issue was the award of fees to the lawyers representing the black South Carolinians who sued Bessinger's restaurants. But in the footnote to the unsigned 8-0 opinion, the court called the religious freedom argument and Bessinger's other defenses patently frivolous. Now, let me explain the difference between this. Bessinger served barbecue. And barbecue is barbecue. You want ribs, you want pork butt, you want pork, tips, you want tripe. Brisket, ribs, whatever, chicken. You go there, I'll have the brisket sandwich, I have this. You don't go there and say, hey, listen, I'd like a specialty brisket deal, and would you please put it in the shape of a penis for me and my male, blah, blah, blah. It wasn't like that. They weren't asking for special service. They were asking for service. All right. Now, between us girls, I don't really care if somebody doesn't want to serve me. I've been in places where they didn't say, I don't want to serve you. They just treated me like crap. So I left. In effect, I don't know. Was it because I'm black? Was it because I'm ruggedly handsome? I don't know why they didn't want to serve me. I don't know why they acted like crap, like I was crap. Maybe they didn't think I had any money. I don't know. Have you seen those shows where the like Pretty Woman, where she goes into the Beverly Hills thing? That wasn't black and white. They were like, she's a, country bumpkin, or, she has no idea of style, so I'm not gonna worry with her. And the girl left. And then she goes back and gets the concierge, and he says, I'm gonna make sure you get treated correctly. He squeezes the skids. She goes to another place. They treat her like a queen. Richard Gere pays for it all or whatever, and life is good. That's it. It happens all the time. But anyway, my point is this. At the barbecue joint, he wasn't serving people. He's serving everybody except these black folks, and they didn't ask for anything special. At this cake place, and this is why I think that this is going to go in the way of the owner of this place. He's saying, look, I got lots of stuff here. I got lots of gay clients. You can come in and you can buy anything you want. But when you tell me you want me to bake you a wedding cake, I'm not baking it. And here's my thing. I don't think you can make him bake it. I think that if he says they could have bought anything in my store, I didn't discriminate against them buying stuff in my store. Did they accuse me of that? No. But they wanted me to bake them a wedding cake, and I'm not going to bake them. Go buy one of my cakes. I shouldn't be forced to bake you a cake. What else can you force me to do for somebody that's against my religious principle? For example, if somebody says, I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but if there's something that's against my religion, curse me out. No, I'm not going, well, I might. If you're a leftist and you tweet me wrong, I got a friend. They own a chain of grocery stores, and she follows every tweet that I do. And I have to remember that sometimes. These are very religious people. But I get fired up over conservative principles, because at the end of the day, there should be no reason we won't want to curse. I don't want to get mad at people. I don't want to wake up in the morning and be mad at folks. I don't want to wake up. I don't even want to go through my day and be mad at people. But that's what happens, because we get things like the Steinle verdict, or we find out that Al Franken has 2 more accusers, or John Conyers is blaming the sexual abuse accusations or misconduct accusations on the fact that some woman was a white woman. Well, they weren't all white, John. And on and on. They want to tell us that the choices that we've made, that we can see that are benefiting the country, are wrong, but the choices that they made that put this country, I'm talking about Barack Obama, that put this country on a road to hell, are the good choices. What are these people talking about? They get up in the morning picking fights with us. Oh, look, Flynn, Donald Trump, he told Flynn to talk to the Russians. Look, woo! They're all excited. Excited over what? But what's the end? What are they going to end up with? Well, I mean, I can't even imagine when they came back and said, "Oh, geez, Brian, what's his face, got it wrong over there at ABC." Oh man, what did Joy? I don't watch The View. Did she go back out on The View and go, "Oh, geez, that breaking news bit that I did, bad news, wasn't what I thought it was. Isn't going to impeach Trump." What Oberman, why did he leave? Oh, it's all my work is done here. Is it? I mean, what are these people? What do they want from us? Do they want us to roll over and just let them crater the economy? We are proving that we know more than they do. And I think that's what has them so mad. Anyway, back to this gay cake thing. I don't know what's going to come out of this. I'm no legal scholar. I'm nowhere close. But I believe that when that guy says they could have bought anything in my restaurant or in my bakery, but they didn't. They chose a cake. They chose to do something that I'm not going to do. And, look, I understand if you wanted to say I discriminated against them, you would have to say that they could not buy things in my store. And that's not the case. It's like a person that makes a custom bike. He may sell regular Harleys, but he doesn't have to make me a custom bike.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Beth Cook Moranville, author of Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope.
Hope, that wonderful, wonderful 4-letter word that you may feel completely out of. I wrote this book to give you great hope. It's not too late. If fetal position is an all too familiar place for you, I understand. If the next 60 seconds are too long, this book is for you. Wherever you are right now, whether you're dealing with divorce or death or sickness, take hope. You are going to make it through this pain. Don't roll your eyes. I've walked this road and I know it. The best is yet to come.
Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope from author and speaker Beth Cook Moranville, can be found on Amazon.com or Kindle.com. For more information, visit closerthanyourBreath.com or on Facebook at Closer Than Your Breath.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. The Roy Moore vote is a week from today, and I love it. They've got this embattled Republican Senate candidate Roy Moore is ahead on one new poll, but tied with his Democrat rival in another recent survey. Now, what's going on right now is the Democrats are cheating in Alabama like you wouldn't believe. Right now, I saw a story that said Al Sharpton's half-brother is registering felons. Probably friends of his, old roommates. You know, they cannot have a loss here. I mean, it's a Senate seat and everybody obviously wants it. But, I mean, you know, from a Democrat or a Republican perspective, but I'm saying the Democrats are looking at this as like DEFCON. We have got to win this seat the same way Hillary Clinton had to win the election. This is litigating the election all over again. A new CBS poll released on Sunday said 71% of Alabama Republicans say that allegations against Roy Moore are false. The survey of likely voters found that Moore, who had been accused of sexual misconduct, leads his Denver Democrat. I don't know what's going on with his Democrat rival, Doug Jones, from 49 to 43%. He's got 49. The other guy's got 43. So it's got a margin of error, but neither one of them has a plurality. And the seat was formerly held by Attorney General Jeff Sessions. Now, the Democrats have a hill to climb. It was Sessions' seat. It's a Republican seat, and probably in a Republican district. And I suspect there are many people who understand what's going on here, and they're saying, nope, let's sneak it in. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to make a prediction that Roy Moore wins. Maybe it's just wishful thinking on my part, but I don't want him. I don't want Doug Jones in there. He was a prosecutor, which means he's got a pretty good understanding of how crime really works, and he may be fooling the Democrats into believing that he's a true Democrat. Most prosecutors, they get it. They see crime and go, nah, you're not going to get away. If he was a defense attorney, maybe different. But everything I've read about him, he's a pretty bad character. But the thing that gets me is this, because I to be honest with you. Other than the fact that it's politics and it involves a Senate seat, I don't really care. You know, I don't want leftism to win anywhere. And I certainly don't like it when they orchestrate wins. And that's what they're doing here. They are trying to vilify a man based on information that none of us really know. We're supposed to believe the woman, right? But we also know that the left don't apply that same standard to themselves. When it comes to Franken, oh no, we're going to protect him. When it comes to, you know, Conyers, well, we got to wait and see all the evidence or whatever else. But the minute somebody on the right has an accusation, well then, whoa, look at here, we got to, you know, go freak out. I don't know. I want to talk about Rex Tillerson because I'd started having a conversation about him based on a friend of mine having dinner with the president. And he said to me, Kevin, you know, Tillerson's not leaving. They don't have a beef the way the media is saying it. But what I wanted to talk about with Tillerson, he's an interesting guy to me because he ran one of the largest companies in the world, maybe the largest company, ExxonMobil. He's obviously not as wealthy as Donald Trump, but he's, in terms of accomplishments, running a multi-global company like ExxonMobil is not easy to do. And he left that job to take on the job as Secretary of State, which I think he's tasked to do that. The other thing I like about Tillerson, he's very easygoing in the sense of, you know, he can be stern without it looking like he's being stern. And so I think that's a good quality. He's an older gentleman, so he would have a level of respect around the world that Hillary Clinton would. And people didn't respect Hillary Clinton. So you've got a lot of positive things. Now, I don't know what even the little beef is because, you know, President Trump admitted, he goes, yeah, we have our issues. And of course, that means anything. I could say that to every person that I work with. We have our issues, but we work through it. But there's something a little deeper to the issue. That's my guess, because I know I want Tillerson to be a little more, I don't know, is it aggressive? And I can understand Trump, his personality is just, you know, they say bull in the china shop, even though they've proven that the bull in the china shop just walks through the aisles. He doesn't destroy it. But what I liked about Tillerson was when he started dismantling the State Department and saying, we don't need this. We're not going to do it. And what's funny, you get a guy who comes from ExxonMobil, which, by the way, is a huge bureaucracy in and of itself, and they're wasteful, but they also know you can't run like the government. So he's a good blend between government and corporation, you know, and complete free-for-all. Because as a corporate guy, he's like, okay, we got to have some corporate, fiscal responsibility here, but also realize that we're a big organization. Yet, he fired 100 people. Did you guys hear about this? Back in D.C., more than 100 senior Foreign Service officers have left the State Department since President Trump took office, in what appears to be a forced exodus carried out by Secretary of State Tillerson. Among those who have departed with the State Department's Chief of Security, Bill Miller, who left supposedly after Tillerson refused to meet with him. And I don't know. I mean, look, I get it. Security, you know, you got powerful guy traveling around the world. I don't understand all the details of this. I'm not going to pretend to. But they say Miller is one of the most powerful people at the State Department. Yet he was reportedly forced to cite a law requiring him to be allowed to speak to the Secretary of State before Tillerson was willing to meet with him for 5 minutes, leading Miller to resign. Well, good, go. See, the thing about a lot of these bureaucrats, they think, I'm the only one who can do the job. You let me go, what are you going to do? Put somebody else in your place or not replace you? The biggest complaint they have right now, we do not have ambassadors to all these countries. Who cares? There are, I think, 192 countries, give or take, in the world. Do we have to have somebody in all of them this very minute? The answer is no. There are some countries we'll fill that slot if we get to it. Let's be honest. Half of the countries in the world are insignificant. If they want to reach out to us, call the State Department. We'll be gracious to you, but do I have to have somebody in country? How much money does it cost for us to put somebody in a protective compound, give them a house, an expense account, an entire staff, etc., so we can talk about, crop dusting in some, sub-Saharan armpit. And then there are countries where we certainly don't want people. I mean, I think it's great. So Tillerson's letting go of 100 folks. I mean, I don't know how big of a budget that is or whatever, but I think it's great. I think that somebody looking at all this stuff realistically and saying, what do we really need, has been long overdue. We've let these guys just tell us how it's supposed to work, and nobody's questioned them.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Any more dots after Mike Flynn, right? Your dots go to Kushner and then the president. There really are no other dots here.
This is a case that reaches directly into the heart of the Trump administration, into the Oval Office.
People now who have believed that the president's sort of loose way with information and facts was his best defense now think that the president is in danger and exposed.
I do agree. This is a big moment where if you're on the fence, you start to think, geez, is this whole thing going down? Is it Watergate?
Breaking news. ABC News' Brian Ross is reporting Michael Flynn promised full cooperation to the Mueller team and is prepared to testify that as a candidate, Donald Trump directed him to make contact with the Russians. Yes!
Welcome, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. It's the Kevin Jackson Show. So what you heard there was a montage of all the leftists freaking out over the news of Flynn. He's going to testify. And they had gotten the preliminary ABC news that was, well, Flynn was told by candidate Trump to contact the Russians, and then they were all celebratory. And then they get the bad news. Surprise! The theme of our show today is surprise. There's a lot of surprises coming. Hannity had a surprise yesterday. I don't know. Well, I didn't watch the show, but supposedly he released something. But there are going to be a lot of surprises coming up. And I don't know about you guys. I like the surprises that are coming up, because let me explain what I mean by that. You're not going to get any surprises from Trump. Trump is very upfront. Here's what I want. Here's why I want it. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to worry about these clowns. He has said it. We'll play a little short clip. But he said it again. I haven't done anything. I told you guys. One of my friends had dinner with him. He asked him point blank. He's like, look, Donald, come on. What's up? He says, look, there's nothing there. Nothing. He goes, I didn't need to reach out to the Russians. I didn't reach out to them. There's nothing there. He goes, this is strictly theater. And he goes, let him go. I don't care. I'm just moving on. And that's what he's doing. But let me tell you something. Every time you turn around, what's going on? These guys are up a creek. They're up a creek. They're struggling. They're trying to latch on to something. I mean, Joy Behar was exuberant over the news. Exhilarated. Yes. We got him. Keith Olbermann, I'm going to retire because I don't need to do it anymore. We've got him. What do you got? You got a guy doing an amazing job. Let me tell you, the biggest worry of the Democrats in 2018, and by the way, same with the Republicans, because there's a bunch of rhinos and establishment people over there, is watching Donald Trump work his magic. There's one thing you cannot speak to. You can say, that dude is a jerk, man. He's this, he's that, whatever. But doggone it, my pool is clean. My house is clean. My landscape, my lawn is manicured. My building is impeccably clean. The staff is really amazing. Whatever it is that you want done, he's a window washer. He sucks at it, man. He's terrible. Then, why am every time I look out, I don't even see a smudge. I don't see a hint of bird droppings or anything. It's like there's no window there at all. He's so good at it. You cannot argue with results. That's their problem. I hate when he tweets. Why is he tweeting? Trevor Noah tweet. Barack Obama. Did you guys hear this? Barack Obama. I got more people on my Twitter than he's got. He's all because Barack Obama's got 100 million people. Trump only has 44 million. And Obama's like, I got more people on Twitter. Yeah, because Jack allows more people to get to you. Are you kidding? Let me ask you this. Let's ask the question this way. 2 people are going to go fill a stadium of people that want to see them, see their work or hear them talk or whatever. Who fills? If Barack Obama went to Harlem or Compton or anywhere and said, I'm going to be speaking at an event, it's free, come out, and Trump did the same thing, who do you think has more people? You know the answer. It's Donald Trump. Barack Obama has been embarrassed worldwide with the attendance at his events. Now, I'm not talking about these paid ones now that he's not president, but I'll promise you this. If Donald Trump came right in behind Barack Obama, which would be the worst thing you'd want to do if you were a performer, he'd get double the audience. Easily. 10 times the audience. These people are lunatics. Anyway, that's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about, there's a hint that was given recently that James Comey might be under investigation. Now, we reported on the firing of Peter Strzok, or whatever it is, Strzok. S-T-R-Z-O-K is his name. Who has a name like that? Czechoslovakian or something? By a vowel. He was part of Special Prosecutor Mueller's team. They uncovered, while searching for information to bury Trump, the special, I think they call it the Inspector General, finds information that Peter Strzok is sending out text messages of pro-Hillary, anti-Trump, whatever, and he's one of the people. Now, I told you guys, this is great news. This is great news. Kevin, how could that possibly be great news? It's great news because what it's telling you is in an investigation headed by a crooked guy who is friends with Obama and Clinton and Comey, who's hiring people who are unfriendly to Trump. They still got nothing. That guy gets fired off the investigation, and it's spiraling in on him. Who is it capturing? Well, rumor is James Comey. Yeah, anti-Trump, pro-Hillary Clinton shill working against Donald Trump. Not looking for the truth. Mueller, by the way, he's the same way as I said. But the New York Times said of Strzok, whatever his name is, Peter Strzok is considered one of the most experienced and trusted FBI counterintelligence investigators. That's what the New York Times said of the guy who has now been fired by yet another shield. How bad is your investigation when you have to fire the guy that the New York Times says is one of the most trusted guys on the planet and best out there, and you got to fire him? So the optics of this doesn't look very good for Mueller or the Democrats or Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama or any of the other stooges that they're going to be looking at. And this latest revelation about Strzok, or whatever his name is, certainly calls into question the entire investigation as well as the man who led the FBI at the time the investigation was launched, and that would be James Comey. So during an appearance on CBS's Face the Nation, Lindsey Graham said that he alluded that Comey was under investigation. And here's what he says. Graham said he did not agree with Trump's description of the Bureau, but said Comey will have to answer for decisions he made during his time helming the FBI. Trump fired Comey in May in a decision that triggered the appointment of Mueller to take over the federal investigation into Russia's election meddling and its possible collusion with the Trump campaign. I think he made some decisions that were very, very wrong, Graham said to host John Dickerson regarding Comey. There's an ongoing criminal investigation. Comey may be part of it. You tweet and comment regarding ongoing criminal investigations at your own peril. I'd be careful if I were you, Mr. President. I'd watch this. Yeah, all I can tell you is idle threat. The president doesn't care about this. Are you kidding? Here's the thing that gets me. It should be no surprise to any of us that Comey's under investigation. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me if they opened up an investigation on Mueller. But you can bet this. President Trump is not going to be persuaded by a rhino like Lindsey Graham to stop his tweeting And he doesn't have to know whatever's going on in that investigation. He's not involved. Not at all. So for him to tweet this, because he was tweeting, because he got mad. President Trump got mad. He says, I never asked Comey to stop investigating Flynn. Just more fake news covering another Comey lie. And what was funny about it is, I remember the testimony of Comey when he said he got scared in the room with the president. Do you remember that? I remember it. He was intimidating. And President Trump said at that time, look, you take this thing wherever it needs to go. And I remember that in the testimony. So for Comey to try to get out of it, it'd be tough on him. But he said, tainted, no, very dishonest FBI. Agents role in Clinton probe under review. So here's the president saying, you're going after me, and you've got guys out there who have an agenda. He's pointing out this is an investigation that is worse than a witch hunt, and he's right to do it. And then when I told you guys, he doesn't have to care about it. When you're innocent, you don't have to care. And all of a sudden, the rats start to leave the ship, and that's exactly what's happening here. Then he says this, after years of Comey with the phony and dishonest Clinton investigation and more running the FBI, its reputation is in tatters, worst in history. But fear not, we will bring it back to greatness. I love that tweet. I love it. Make the FBI great again. That's essentially what he's saying. And so people came in and chimed in. I'll talk a little bit about it in a bit because we'll run out of time. Keep it here, folks.
Kevin Jackson on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Putting an end to identity politics. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
I want to start where I just ended with Senator Feinstein. She is not somebody that is a bomb thrower. Doris Kearns, good one. She basically walked right up to the line of he's not fit for office right now. She was right there, pretty close.
Something happened a month ago, and obviously you think, oh my God, tell us what it is that happened. But clearly the people inside the administration, inside the Congress, are feeling a sense of enormous concern right now. I don't understand how President Trump could say the other day, no collusion. We're very happy. How can he be happy? The administration has been under a shadow from the beginning. Energy has been lost. Time and resources have been lost. And now it's going into an even deeper direction. As long as it doesn't hit him, he says, we're happy. Don't the people you choose around you, who have now shown themselves to be untrustworthy, reflect you? That's the major idea of a leader, as an example. And yet he says, we're very happy. There's such a disconnect between what's happening and what he's feeling.
Welcome back, everybody. Doris Kearns, presidential historian, leftist. Inside the administration, there's a sense of enormous concern inside, outside, with Congress, etc. Because she knows she's an insider. This is a relic. This lady, no, I'm not trying to be mean, but she's, probably close to 70 years old. She's not worked with Trump. Most of the people that he's working with are new people. But she knows she's on the inside. But let's say that she is. There's an enormous amount of concern. Let me tell you, like I said before, the left tell you what's going on with them. There's an enormous amount of concern with them. I love what this part. She says, how could he be happy? How in the world could Donald Trump be happy? Maybe because he's president. He's not supposed to be. But how could he be happy? Energy lost. Here's all the explanations. This is what she says. Energy lost, time and energy have been lost in this. And then she goes into, maybe it doesn't reach you, but don't you care about the people around you? Aren't you guilty by association? Can you imagine a leftist saying that to you? Aren't you guilty by association? I don't understand the disconnect. Well, Doris, let me explain. The disconnect's not with us. The disconnect's not with Trump. The disconnect is with the left. These people who have this all-out, hell-bent mentality that they're going to get this man no matter what. Well, it's tough to get somebody when they're not guilty. This reminds me of the Rachel Maddow tax deal. We're going to get Donald Trump's tax return. We've got Donald Trump's tax returns. We've got them right here. Yep, we're going to be talking about it on the show. Yep, they're on there. They're being FedExed right over to me. Courier over. We're going to have them right before the broadcast. I will be able to let you know what's going on with Donald Trump's taxes. And then she opens up his taxes, and it turns out Donald Trump's paid like $52 million in taxes. It just... You ever had the wind knocked out of you? Let me tell you, as a fighter, I had the first time it happened to me, I was playing football. But you get the wind knocked out of you, you get hit in the right place. It's like, oh, hold on a minute. That was a slow motion body punch to Rachel Maddow. She vamped for an hour. Yep, well, we told you we were going to get them. And sometimes, you ever had one of these deals where you're out in the country, you're driving along, cars moving, you're motoring, you can hear that motor running. You see the landscape as it's going by. Depending on the speed, it goes fast, it goes slow. Depending on your speed. I mean, would you want to listen to my radio show if I vamped for 20 minutes on a road drive, the drive between the highway and the 2-mile dirt road to get to my grandmother's house? You hit that fence and there you go. You got to get out. You're going to have to open the gate. That's right. So what do? You pop the locks. You see those locks go up and you think to yourself, boy, that was interesting. It's automatic. Pop. I hit the button. The lock pops up. What do I do then? Well, open the door. Open the door. I've got to go and do what? Well, we've got to, dare I say, open that gate. I was laughing with one of the executives of Fox about Rachel Maddow. And she goes, Kevin, she's effective. I'm like, that's not effective. Okay. So put her in that time slot and then let me have a time slot that's next to Rachel where I'm talking about issues and explaining things and we're having a good time. And Rachel's over there vamping. And she just started laughing. I mean, come on, seriously? The disconnect, what are these people talking about? The disconnect is on their end. The very disconnect that got Donald Trump elected. What do they want to prove? You want to prove that, oh, you know what? You can be right about something, but we can still take it away from you. Ever had one of those, you see those shows, the principal show, the rich guy, even though you are right on principle, he's like, doesn't matter. I own the town, so I can throw you in jail. Well, congratulations to you. But I'm the town's cobbler, so your kids aren't going to have any shoes. I mean, really? So, but it's funny to listen to them. They are so hell-bent on just making sure that in getting what they want. I mean, you ever had a kid just cry, and then the parents finally go, just get it, but it's going to be the last time you get it. And the kid's like, and they finally get it and they shut up and they go, okay. Doesn't matter if it's bad for them. I want to stick this fork in the electrical outlet. You don't do it. Get away from there. Don't make me beat you, boy. And if, okay, do it. Go ahead. Fine. Don't look at me. You've done that, haven't you? Did you do that with your parents? What have you got? Let me ask you this. What have you guys done that you, and I know the audience can't hear you, but what have you done that you regret? Like your parents said, don't do it. Like some girl you dated, right? Mm-hmm. Or what, something bad where your parents told you, they warned you. You have a story, right? We all have that story. parents said don't do it, but you did it, and this happened. I don't remember one of my stories at this point, but I know I have some. If I'm forced to remember, I know my grandmother went, I wouldn't do it. And I was like, you don't know nothing, old lady. You just an old lady. No, I never said anything like that to my grandmother. Even though a couple times I was like, just because you're older doesn't mean you know. Come on, we've all had that moment. But see, for us, it's not about being older. I'm listening to Doris Kearns talk about Donald Trump and them trying to get this man, and they're giddy. And I'm talking, what are you giddy over? Here, there's a guy, he commented back and said, y'all need to get over yourselves.
A lot of the heavy breathing and a lot of the speculation is completely unwarranted. That plea agreement does not, to me, indicate that there's very much else there. When you have a witness who can put other people into criminal behavior, you can do one of two things. You can either immunize them if they're not willing to disclose their information. You can either give them immunity, in which case they have to testify truthfully, or else if they don't testify, they go to jail for contempt. If they testify falsely, they go to jail for perjury. Or else you can make them plead guilty to participating in the same criminal conduct that you're trying to prove up against the other people you're after, because that's the most convincing evidence of the existence of the conspiracy. Neither one of them is true.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson. That was a former attorney general, and he's speaking in a he's nonpartisan in this. He's saying there's only a couple ways we do this, and Donald Trump has nothing to worry about. But I want to go back to Kearns, who says, well, isn't he concerned about the people around him? What, like Jared Kushner, his son-in-law? You think he's concerned? If there were a reason to be concerned, he'd be concerned. Kushner's out at some event having a good time, and rightfully so. Nobody's going to be in trouble over anything that's going on. This is one of those things where the left wants to feel some level of vindication. When they won those 2 governor seats that they were supposed to win. Yeah, look at us. We're winners. All right. Because they don't want to feel like losers. They are losers. And see, the interesting thing is, even over the decades, as they felt like winners, they know they've been losers. They just got into the mentality to believe that even though they were losing, they were winning. I call it backfire. A guy that you beat him up while you're walking backwards, but he still thinks he's winning because he's coming forward. You're peppering and pop, 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 pop. And he's like, yeah, but I'm still going forward, so I must be winning. So that's what the left has believed. We're still moving our agenda forward. We got to be winning. Look at everything we're winning on. We got gay issues. We got immigration on. And then finally the people went, no, you haven't been winning. Now, I'm not saying we were rope-a-doping them, because we were getting our butts kicked too, to a degree. But let me just tell you, the truth cannot lose over time. It has to win. You can't. How long are you going to fake people into believing Barack Obama was competent when eventually somebody competent is going to come in and show you that he wasn't? That's exactly what's happening right now. And that's the rebellion of the lie.
He won't stop until he's the top-rated radio talk show host in America.
What kind of weird competitive freak are you?
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Hey, I went into your office once. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
Snooping, and you had a huge bag of sex toys. And do you remember this?
Oh, wait a minute.
Yes, you did.
Wait a minute.
In your closet.
Wait
now,
a minute.
You did.
Okay, can we explain what happened? Because you were there. We had a guest on the show who was a sex therapist. And so when she left, I think you did the segment, actually.
I didn't.
And when she left, she gave each of us a shopping bag of stuff.
I didn't get a bag of stuff.
True story. I didn't know what to do. I put it in my closet, in my dressing room. The next day, we had Laura Bush on the show. And the Secret Service came with the dogs to sweep our dressing room. And I watched. I said, no, I'll get out. Go ahead. He goes, you can stay. We just need to bring the dog in. They open up the thing, and I see the guy pick up the bag. So I'm like, oh, my God. It's true.
Welcome, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. It's the Kevin Jackson Show. That was Matt Lauer explaining the old sex toy thing. And Meredith Vieira is like really looking at him with a skeptical eye, like, I don't remember that. I don't. And so you get, who knows? Interesting story, funny story, anecdote, great for the audience, etc. But did they really know the real Matt Lauer? Yep, they knew him. And you know what? Here's the other thing. I'm just going to be honest with you. I bet you, I don't know what percentage, but an overwhelming percentage of the women were happy to be hit on and flirted with Matt Lauer. The overwhelming percentage of them. And there were one or two, whatever, a small percentage of them said, you know what? I don't like this. He's too much on his high horse. And they didn't like the way other women were treating him. And Matt Lauer has to go down. I don't know what he's done. I'll be blunt. I don't. But I know this. I know the work environment. I know how women are. I know how people are. And he's the guy sitting on top of the perch, and there are women ready to throw themselves at him. That's true at almost any level of notoriety. There are people that just will, they make themselves available to you. And it's really, it's sad because, it doesn't take anything at all. One of my buddies, he's a Dallas cop, and he's retired, former lieutenant. And I think he was their spokesperson at one point. And he called me up. He left me a voicemail. Yo, Kev, you better watch out, man, at Fox and all that. And it's funny to hear him say it, but it's tongue in cheek, but he's actually speaking truth. You got to be careful. People, it's funny. I'll watch somebody. So I was at a party, and they were like, "Oh, here's a guy," and you see people look at you, and then my friend goes, "Oh, hey, have you seen Kevin on Fox?" And they're like, "On Fox?" And then suddenly the conversation goes from you being like, "Oh, hey, how you doing?" to, "Hey," instantaneously. And I'm a nobody. It's not like I'm Matt Lauer, where I'm hosting the show every day and you didn't recognize me because I had on my Halloween mask, or, I'm O'Reilly or somebody. Those guys are recognizable everywhere they go. Somebody knows them. So, I'll be blunt. A woman who has no interest in you because you're just Stanley, from the next door, versus somebody going, "Oh, no, Stanley's he's the anchor of blankety blank." Suddenly, whoa. And it isn't even it's not necessarily a gold digger reaction. It's just this reaction of I'm that much closer to somebody in perceived power. Now, I don't care, what happens with Matt. I don't mean it in an inhumane way. He's got to deal with his own thing. But I'm just saying, a lot of these things aren't the way they're stacked up to be. I'm not going to protect the left, though. They brought this on themselves. They brought the whole Weinstein thing. Still needs to play out. And what's funny about that is, Mike, in the theme of the show today is surprise. Is anything going to surprise you if you find out more about it? I did a Jeopardy skit on it. I said, I'll take Inside Hollywood for $1,600, Alex. Alex says, Harvey Weinstein, Roman Polanski, and Woody Allen. And I say, who are the leftist sexual deviants who've won Oscars? So we know what they're doing. I've pointed it out. I was telling somebody this the other day that, whether it's Hollywood, entertainment, academia, you name it, the left are lecherous creatures. And they openly do the things that they're talking about. Openly. If you think that Snoop Dogg doesn't go to a party, this dude owns a porn product line or something. If you think that this guy doesn't go to parties and have women throw themselves at him, and he does whatever he wants, and they don't say a word. And by the way, if there was ever a woman that came back and said, "Yo, Snoop Dogg grabbed me by my breath," the jury would be like, "What? And what else? What do you want us to do?" It's ridiculous. They say another woman says Franken tried to give her a wet, open mouth kiss. I should have had a trigger warning to you before I said that, because I threw up a little bit in my own mouth. Now we get news that the husband of a state senator came on to men. Yeah. He was a policy advocate who made his living trying to persuade legislators on Beacon Hill to help nonprofit groups. He was exhausted after a working dinner with a group of senators and their spouses on that fall night in 2015. It was very late, and he wanted nothing more than to sleep. But Byron Hefner, the fiancé of State President Stan Rosenberg, yes, they're a gay couple, appeared in the doorway. As the advocate recently described it, Hefner took a step forward, grabbed the man's genitals, and didn't let go. He called Hefner, asking him to have some fun with him, telling him Rosenberg wouldn't mind, that Hefner and the Senate president were a team on Beacon Hill, and they would take care of him. The advocate froze. He felt violated, powerless. "Nothing prepared me for that moment," he said in one of his several interviews that have happened over the past week. Now, that's a state senator whose fiancé husband is coming on to men and he's not even the one in power. And he's like, "Well, I'm related to power." So he's molesting dudes. How much of that goes on, right? So look, the shoe is going to fall on these guys. And it's going to be surprise after surprise without it being a surprise. Because let me tell you something. Everybody knows about this guy. Everybody knows about Weinstein. Everybody knew about Kevin Spacey. Everybody knew about Charlie Sheen. You name it, they know about him. We'll be back in just a bit. Keep it here.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Beth Cook Moranville, author of Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope.
Hope, that wonderful, wonderful 4-letter word that you may feel completely out of. I wrote this book to give you great hope. It's not too late. If fetal position is an all too familiar place for you, I understand. If the next 60 seconds are too long, this book is for you. Wherever you are right now, whether you're dealing with divorce or death or sickness, take hope. You are going to make it through this pain. Don't roll your eyes. I've walked this road and I know it. The best is yet to come.
Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope from author and speaker Beth Cook Moranville, can be found on Amazon.com or Kindle.com. For more information, visit closerthanyourBreath.com or on Facebook at Closer Than Your Breath.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. Donald Trump continues to confound the left and many on the right is, the establishment Republicans. And it's funny that when the people say, "Oh, I didn't expect that," and I'm thinking to myself, Donald Trump has told you everything he's going to do, and people are still surprised by it. Glad you guys are with me. It's the Kevin Jackson Show, KJRadio.com, 844-551-8255. So here's the thing that's surprising everybody, that Donald Trump took a staunch stance at the UN against refugees. His position represents yet again a departure from the failed policies of Barack Obama and almost every other world leader, and the left are shocked. They're perplexed. What? This is according to Foreign Policy. President Donald Trump has decided to boycott a global conference on migration scheduled to begin Monday in Puerto Rico, Mexico, sending a blunt signal that the United States is no longer interested in forging a concerted response to the world's burgeoning migration crisis. It's a burgeoning migration crisis. Have you seen this map? There's a map that shows the places where Muslim attacks have occurred. And Poland is a country that says, we're not taking any Muslims. And all around Poland, there's all these Muslim attacks. But it's a white sheet. Just think of it as white with little gray lines marking where the country's borders are. And all over the map, throughout Europe and Asia, and of course North America, whatever, are attacks by Muslims. And there's Poland with this big white spot that's got no red in it. Because these guys are going no, and we're not going to be some German guy was like, Poland needs to take some refugees, and Poland goes, no thanks, it's not going to happen. Anyway, so Donald Trump made the decision, and they were talking about the tax bill and all these other things, and then the Mexican government scheduled to host this 3-day meeting that was meant to figure out what they call a humane approach to handling the more than 60 million refugees around the world, who have been forcibly displaced. Now, the number that I got before was 65.2 million, more people than in any time in history. And as I've said to you folks, the majority of these refugees come from black and brown countries. They come from Africa or the Middle East, Southeast Asia, and almost all of them share one common thing, and that is the Muslim religion or Islam religion. Almost all of them. So essentially, Muslims around the world are creating all kinds of strife, and it's being egged on by Iran, and then they want the world to deal with it. And it is a calculated effort because of the political correct idea around multiculturalization that is destroying these countries. I'm going to tell you right now, if you don't visit Britain now, you aren't going to recognize it in a decade. And I'll be blunt, you don't recognize it today from 20 years ago. France is, for me, unrecognizable. I was there 6 months ago. I don't get it. I'm like, what's up with this? So all of these things are the things that Donald Trump's looked at. He's already taken a tough stance and says, look, I don't mind you having Muslims, but you're not going to have them radicalized. And I'm going to be honest with you. I think in the United States, these so-called moderate Muslims that we think exist, if we are not watching mosque, and if we are not watching the spread, the proliferation of Islam in this country, we are going to be in deep trouble. The Chinese have jumped all over it. They've said, if you've got a Muslim name, you can't get on our assistance. If you are a radical, you're gone, period. Back to your country. They've implemented strict rules. I don't even think you can build a mosque there anymore. But I can't say that with certainty. But anyway, the UN believes it's going to solve this crisis of 60 million people. Think about this. The UN is solving a crisis that it's kind of created. The UN, the United Nations, was established to prevent war. But there's so much war going on that we have more people displaced from their homelands than in any time in history. And now they want to solve the problem by dispersing all these people. Now, we've seen the outcome. I've given you the stats. In the 80s, there was one Muslim terror attack. In the 70s. In the 80s, there were 13. In the 90s, there were 35. And then beginning in the year 2000, there have been over 1,500 attacks, usually over 2,000 attacks, Muslim attacks around the world every year. How do you jump that quickly from where there's less than, a few dozen in a decade to where there are thousands every year, and nobody draw a conclusion that we've let this get out of hand. They said the U.S. president's decision to pull out of the negotiations highlighted the enduring influence of Stephen Miller, a 32-year-old senior White House policy advisor who has championed the Trump administration's effort to sharply restrict immigration to the United States. In recent weeks, Miller led efforts to pull out of the migration talks. Good for him. I remember when this was one of these issues being discussed, that global climate change and all that. And I remember somebody saying, Ivanka's going to talk to the president about global climate change. She's a global climate change person. And I remember thinking, oh, man, he may listen to his daughter. Psh, Ivanka has her views, but her daddy is like, I ain't falling for that mess. And you know what's funny? Other people would succumb to this. Well, we got to look at the humanitarian effort. Now, we have been humane. Every one of the countries where these people are leaving, the United States either has a presence or we've donated crazy money. And, there's only so much you can do. I'm telling you, that's what they talk about. We need an ambassador. To do what? We want to pay a group of people to go over to some country so we can then add more money to it. Watch that money end up in the hands of a ruthless dictator who doesn't like us to begin with, and you think that's a good cycle. There are some countries we just need to cut off. And, these 7 countries that are on the travel ban, if we need to cut them off, cut them off. Get our ambassadors out of there. We can save the money. Taxpayers need it. I think it's crazy that we continue this stuff. Anyway, Nikki Haley, they said what kind of drove this a little bit, too, was when the president tweeted out this video of the Muslims wreaking havoc on societies that provide sanctuary. And we showed a film where these guys trashed one of their weight center where they had just gotten in, and they said, we don't have cell phones, and we don't want your stinking food and all this. It's bizarre to watch this happening around the world, and the country still capitulating, still rolling out the red carpet. And I could tell you about all the attacks that have occurred, over the past month. While all this decision making is being done, it would have no impact on the left. But the United States has taken a tough stance, and I'm glad about that.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. The Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Controversial bill is currently working its way through City Hall, designed to regulate stop-and-go liquor stores. Now, one part of the bill would force business owners to take down bulletproof glass inside their stores. Here's the question. At what cost to their safety? Fox 29's Jeff Cole's live at City Hall. Jeff.
Lucy, that is exactly the question. In a city that struggles with gun violence, there is a bill going through City Hall here that would take down some of the plexiglass. Now, merchants say this is a question of safety. A city councilwoman says no, it's dignity for her constituents. Broad Deli sits on the corner of the 2200 block of North Broad. Outside, there are high-intensity lights to illuminate loiterers. Inside, a wall of bulletproof glass separates customer from workers.
The most important thing is our safety and the public safety.
Rich Kim's family has run the deli, which sells soda, snacks, meals, and beer by the can for 20 years. He says the glass went up after a shooting and claims it saved his mother-in-law from a knife attack. Now, he may be forced to take some of the barrier down.
If the glass comes down, the crime rate will rise, and there will be a lot of dead bodies.
A bill moving through City Council reads, no establishment shall erect or maintain a physical barrier. It's called the Stop and Go bill and is being offered by City Councilwoman Cindy Bass.
Well, right now, I think the plexiglass has to come down.
She wants to put some controls on these small stores that she says sell booze, very little food, and other source of trouble in her district.
We want to make sure that, that there isn't this sort of indignity, in my opinion, to serving food through a plexiglass only in certain neighborhoods.
Rich Kim resents the charge. Stores like this attract loiterers and argues calls to police are often met with a slow response. Mike Chow runs a nonprofit supporting Korean-owned businesses. He plans on raising $100,000 to fight the measure.
I do think it's a bad bill that will endanger Korean Americans.
Bass says she's battling for her constituents. Kim argues, as a Korean American, he's being targeted. This bill targets Korean Americans.
Absolutely not.
Targets Korean Americans.
Absolutely
We
not.
own these shops,
No,
and our
I would
lives will be
never.
put in danger by this.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I can tell you I find that offensive.
She says she finds it offensive that anybody would claim that she's targeting Korean Americans. Bass says that more cameras, a security guard, a security wand may answer some of the security issues. Mr. Kim says have the police guarantee his safety. He'll take the plexiglass down tomorrow.
There you have it, folks. You're listening to The Kevin Jackson Show. Glad you're with me. Racepimping.com. A lady, they want to force owners to take down bulletproof glass, plexiglass, in a high crime area. These Koreans have put their businesses in these black areas of town because nobody else will. These are convenience stores, so blacks do not have to go halfway across town to go get something. Are they more expensive? Yes, they are. I hate going to convenience stores. You know, you're on the road and you stop. When I'm talking about a convenience store, I'm talking about just a gas station. You go there, you go to get some chips. Chips are, $1.39 a bag, but if you bought them in bulk, they're like 40 cents. Candy bars are, $1.50. When you get them in bulk, they're, 37 cents or something like that. It's ridiculous, but that's how they make their money. They have to have huge markups because, they don't, I'm not going to run you through how retail works, but they do. They get big markups because they have different issues that they deal with. And one of the big issues that they deal with is they can't have the shrinkage types of protections that other people have, meaning theft. So they have the very expensive stuff is usually behind the plexiglass, cigarettes and whatever else, liquor in some cases. And the cheaper items that they can lose through shrinkage a little bit are out front. And that's why you pay 2.5 times for a bag than what, when you see, let's say that you could get something for 50 cents and they're selling it for $1.50. All right. Trust me, they didn't get it for 50 cents. They got it for 30 cents or 25 cents. The retailer's just looking for regular markup. But in a convenience store, they got to mark it up a lot more because they don't know what the problems that they're going to run into. But here's what I want to get back to. These people have been running their businesses. They don't want to put stuff behind plexiglass. You think that the owner of that store went in one day and said, we need another expense, a more difficult way of getting products to and from people. There was one of these stores, I can't remember the name of it. I lived in the hood, and I can see I can't remember I think it was a Phillips 66 gas station, but you went inside, you could get to nothing. They had 3 checkout trays, and when you wanted something, you went inside. If you went to, pay for gas, need a quart of oil, they got everything from you. They were all behind the glass. And so the people who were checking you out, I need a Snickers bar and I need some, ranch Doritos and some, soda. And they went and got everything for you. You could not get to the items. Then, I don't know, probably it was there for 2 or 3 years that way. Then they finally allowed everybody in, and I don't know what happened. I don't know if there was an ordinance or something, but they finally did. But I remember it was the only store that I'd seen like that except for a neighborhood little grocery store that looked like it was in somebody's house, but it was on the corner. And the guy that runs that store, black dude, he gets you everything. He's behind the counter. Now, I'm trying to remember if it was plexiglass or just him being behind the counter, but you told him what you needed and he went and got it. So, look, the idea that this woman doesn't seem to care at all about the safety of these owners who have put their capital at risk is amazing to me. It's like, no, it's not. It's about dignity. The guy's going, look, we put these up because we had a crime that was committed and we want to make sure that is not duplicate. That's not what we're going to deal with anymore. So that's why they put it up. No, it's about their dignity. Well, what about the dignity of not committing crime? See, what's funny is nobody's challenged her on that. The idea that, oh, well, they're taking away my dignity when they put up a barrier that won't let me get to their products. Whose product is it? It's their product. Until you buy it, it's theirs. And the sad part is, she knows how bad this can be. She knows people's lives are at stake here. But she says it's about dignity. Has she seen one of these flash mobs that'll come in 20, 30 kids at a time that'll just, like locusts descend on a store and take everything? Or take a bunch of stuff? Of course she knows. She knows every problem this guy faces. And you know what she's saying? I don't care. Now, what are the far-reaching implications? The far-ranging implications are, if you force me to do this, I will sell my store. I'll leave. Now, Miss Ethel, who can walk to that store in her walker or send somebody down to get something for it because it's pretty quick and easy, she likes it being there. But that doesn't matter. I'll put it to you another way. If the owners of these stores were black, do you think she'd ask for this? And you know the answer. Of course not. See, this is a very ingenious way of getting back at people who they believe. And I'm telling you guys don't have to believe me, but in the black community, they see these Asian people who are making money off of black folks as predators. They see them as, why are you in here selling your product at a crazy amount of money, making money off of me, and I don't have a job or whatever. So, because the Asian, these people are going to hire their family members. Like one guy said, my mother, almost got stabbed. So, it's mom, it's brother, it's sister, it's father. They all work the business. It's not a it's a 3-4 person business anyway. There's no room for them to bring in somebody else. And that's just the nature of Asian companies, period. I had a friend who owned a big computer store in Dallas, and it was all his family. And it was funny when first we got to be really good friends because I bought a lot of product from him. And I went to his house, and there were boxes of computers you could barely fit down the hallway. I don't know how many people lived there, but it had to be against code. And he told me, he goes, yeah, Kevin, he was just getting started. He's like, yeah, Kevin. He said, whole family live here. Yeah, we work here. We build big computer business here. Yeah. Yeah. And he's going through and we're weaving through stuff so I could go eat some ramen. But he was talking to me about profits. And he says to me, Americans want to make too much money, too much profit. You don't need to make it. You give good product. You give, very small, thin profit. People come back, more. And this guy went from operating out of his home when I first started working with him to having, I don't know how big it was, but it had to be 100,000 square foot warehouse. At least. He was one of the biggest computer, parts piece, in the Dallas area, and was instrumental in getting rid of companies like CompuCon, all these places that had the big retail stores. Gone. Put them out of business. Anyway, I can't believe this woman's doing this. That's endangering her constituents over nonsense.
Kevin Jackson on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
putting an end to identity politics. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. This is a funny story. Oh, it's a funny story. So the Chinese have gotten themselves into a pickle. See, these patriarchal societies have put an emphasis on one sex versus the other versus letting nature take its course, find themselves, sort of on the losing end of things. God has a way of figuring things out. I'll put it to you another way, too. All these Muslims that are just breeding like cats, or like rabbits, I should say, believe me, nature will fix things. I've seen all these stories where these guys are really deformed and crazy looking because of inbreeding and things like this. I don't know what's going to happen, but the nature has a way of going, okay, you shouldn't have been doing what I told you not to do, but bam. And next thing you know, 1 billion people die out for some strange reason. And it doesn't impact somebody else because, they've got stronger gene pools or whatever. Who knows? But that's what you start to see. Anyway, this is a funny story. So around mid-November, Human Rights Watch did a report on China's gay conversion problem, is what they're calling it. Powerful firsthand accounts expose how state-owned hospitals are using electric shock machines and medication to convert gays to some form of normalcy. And the practice is an open secret in China, where a majority of gays are forced by their families into hospitals because the culture labels it as a, quote, curable disease. Those Chinese, the Chinese just don't care. They kick out Muslims. They actually arrest black people. And now they call gay a curable disease. I'm not making one thing one way or the other. I don't know. I've never been gay. I have no gay. There's not any gay tendencies. Somebody asked me a question. Kevin, if it was you and your bro on an island and it was only you two, would you eventually be gay? No. He would have nobody. He might be gay, but he wouldn't be my gay partner. This just isn't going to happen. I have no interest in a dude, period. I don't care. Kevin, you're going to live the next 1,000 years and he's going to be your only partner. Well, then we bros. What's up? We'll make football. We will weave footballs together. If that makes me gay, I will weave the center string of a football with my buddy, with my buddy. But that's it. I got no interest in him. Sorry. I know that offends some people's. I don't know why that would offend somebody's sensibilities. And I go, no, make it 1,000,000 years. Okay? If that makes you feel better, no. Anyway, they say the World Psychiatric Association has come out denouncing the practice as unethical, unscientific, and harmful. Now, they're saying that the practices that they use to get gay people right, normal, the conversion process, is more diabolical than anything we've ever done at Gitmo. And they said, this article says that the Chinese knew the world would figure out about their inhumane treatments to literally shock the gay out of you. Surprise! Dang it, man, I'm no longer gay. Back in 2015, but it says the government approved the research team at Zhejiang University in Hangzhou to study the effects of spraying oxytocin up the noses of homosexual men to see how it affects their sexual orientation. Now, oxytocin is best known for its roles in the female reproductive system. Scientists have been investigating it, including behaviors around orgasm, social recognition, bonding, and maternal behaviors. The article says it's known as the love hormone or the cuddle hormone because levels of oxytocin are increased during hugs and sexual activity. So they say the connection's not well understood, which is why they wanted to study the effects, and they'd spray this natural hormone up gay men's noses. Well, I'm glad they chose their noses. That's a good thing. So Darius Longarino, a senior fellow at the Yale Law School, he said that the 2-year study was in its final stages and would be out at the end of December. Researchers then conducted a blind study with 20 test subjects who were divided into groups. One group had oxytocin sprayed up their nose, while the others used a placebo saline solution. The study began in October of 2015 after being approved by an ethics committee and is set up to end at the end of the year. Now, they're being measured on a Kinsey scale, the Klein scale, through gender cognitive tests and functional magnetic resonance imaging of the brain by testing their blood pressure. So the deputy director of the Department of Psychology at the university said he's going to be in charge of the study. Now, I'm very curious to see what happens. Can you spray something up somebody's nose? It'll make them, oh, hey. But here's what got them into trouble. When they were starting the trial, they posted it as a Chinese clinical trial registry. And in the space form target disease, somebody wrote male homosexual. And that's what caught the eye and the ire of the LGBT community. So they've since defined it as a basic study because they're not trying to cure the disease. They're wanting to just study, what happens if we spray oxytocin up your nose? Does it make you want to, go meet a dude, at a bathhouse? So that's where they're at. Now, here's what's interesting. Back in 2015, researchers at Universidad Veracruzana in Mexico found that they were able to induce a conditioned homosexual preference in male rats by giving them oxytocin and the psychoactive drug, and I don't know if I'm going to say this right, but quinpirole. And so they at least believed that the chemical, by mixing these chemicals, they can in effect turn you out. Yeah. And they said, it seems like a likely group of men had a better time this last few years in the other group because they found that taking oxytocin before lovemaking for a much more intense, session, if you will, particularly for men. Now, I don't know what the outcome of this thing is going to be, but the funny thing to me is that they call this a disease in China. I'm not saying that it is. And I think the other thing is this. Why shouldn't gay people be studied? They studied blacks. What was the Tuskegee experiment was where they gave blacks syphilis, untreated syphilis, just to see the impact of it on the body. I mean, can you imagine? You go in and they say, well, the government wants to do something on you. And so, okay, fine. So you go in, they give you a shot, and they introduce syphilis to your body. It's a dreaded disease. I mean, guys, it eats away at. I mean, when I was in military school, they show you every type of thing that you can get, and that's not the one you want. I mean, you don't want any of them, but that's not the one. And so they treat these guys, and you end up going senile. And so I'm not saying that people should be experimenting on for bad things, but I'm saying what's the harm in experimenting on gay men? I'm saying looking at what might drive the behavior. It doesn't. It's like if they said, Kevin, we want to study what drives the behavior of heterosexual men. Don't say there was a Freudian slip either. I would go, okay, fine. How much does it pay? Because I'll let you study me. I'm not going to take any pills or anything, but if you go, hey, we just want to study what makes your brain float. Okay, hook me up. Where the white women at? No, I'm kidding. I was just using a Blazing Saddles reference to make some liberals go crazy. But what's the big deal? What if you found out there's a theory, and I think it's if your index finger, I may get this wrong, if your index finger is lower than the line on your middle finger, then that's how that's how a woman's hand is, a woman's hand. If I'm not mistaken. Or maybe, yeah, I think that's right. If the index finger is lower than the line or equal to the line, men's finger is always above that line is what I don't remember, but it's something like that. You can look at a hand, they can put it on a table, and you can go woman or man from that one thing. And whatever it was I learned, I looked at it. I would go places and I would look at people's hands and I go, I'll be doggone, look at that woman's hands just like that. And there was a couple times there was an exception. And I was like, you're a man, baby. You know, I don't know whether maybe the lady didn't look as effeminate as I thought she would. But I'm telling you, you look at when women's hand was above whatever the line was, they weren't effeminate. They were kind of, you know, mannish. So anyway, there you have it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. We got to end it there today, folks. I will be back again tomorrow.
He won't stop until he's the top-rated radio talk show host in America.
What kind of weird competitive freak are you?
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.